deckheads? Welcome back to the Two Dudes, One Deck podcast. I'm Corey, and I'm a dockside that's going to make 11 treasures when it comes in.
And I'm Brandon, and I'm a Orcish Bowmasters flashing in with a Wheel of Fortune on the stack. Good luck, everybody else.
No. No. All right. Well, speaking of Orcish Bowmasters, this is episode 3 of our spoilers. We'll be going over the last of the major cards. This is episode 3 of 3. Yeah, we're taking a look at more of our favorite characters. Speaking of which, I think our first one is a really well-known character.
It's Sauron the Dark Lord.
No! All right, start the podcast. Start it over. We're done. Cut. No, I'm fucking. You're right, this is starting off really unhinged. This is the low sleep episode 3.
Low sleep episode 3.
The set is coming out. The Lord of the Rings set is coming out June 23rd. Exciting stuff. Brandon, would you like to start us off on the last day of the spoilers for us?
Yeah. Let's get through the rest of these guys. We're gonna start off with Gimli, Mournful Avenger. This is a 1 mana, 1 red, 1 green for a legendary dwarf warrior. 3/2. Gimli, Mournful Avenger has indestructible as long as 2 or more creatures died under your control this turn. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli. When this ability resolves for the 3rd time this turn, Gimli fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So, first impression of this card, feels kind of bad.
Ew. This is horrible in my opinion. To me, this is pretty close to not having abilities.
Yeah, he's almost blank. There's too many conditions on not even great effects.
High risk, almost no reward. That's what you get out of this
That's what you
card.
call a bad investment, and that's
Yes.
that's the kind of investing advice you can expect from us here at Two Dudes One Deck.
Yeah, don't invest the 3 mana into putting this spell on the stack ever in the game.
Yeah, why does red green suck?
Yeah, I feel like Wizards has been snubbing the red green commanders, man, and do some of them suck, and this one is the Emperor sucking.
He's basically a vanilla 3/2.
It's so hard to make him do anything.
Yeah, man.
It's so hard to make him have text. He's almost a vanilla 3/2.
He's too reliant on playing a lot of creatures and then also sacrificing them, and then you just don't actually get that much value out of sacrificing them unless you have something else that is generating you value for I don't know. It seems way too hard, especially with the colors, for this guy to be a commander.
Yeah, he reads aristocrats and sacrifice, but he's Gruul, which is I would have to guess some of the worst colors that you could be doing aristocrats and sacrificing your dudes for value.
Yeah.
So
doesn't fit.
Yeah. I think I'm actually gonna build a Gimli commander deck, and it's going to be a 1 out of 10 on the power scale. And since Gimli doesn't really have any text, I'm going to play a bunch of creatures that have abilities that are so useless that they basically also don't have text.
Or that they shouldn't have text.
Yeah, there you go. Or trample or something, right?
Yeah, just
no
play a 1/4 with trample.
Yeah, just a creature with bad stats and trample. And that'll be the whole deck, and then I'm going to play cards that buff creatures with no abilities, but they're not going to work since my creatures have useless abilities.
Yeah, it's going to be a highly competitive deck. You should really look out for some gameplay footage of that one. I think it's probably going to climb the ladder pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless I play against B, man.
That
guy, he beats me all the time. Isn't
that
right, B?
I mean, his stacks are unbeatable.
Yes, aren't you an unbeatable Magic player? Yes. He's never lost. You've never lost a game. You've never lost a game.
You know what's funny? Don't you have another really low power commander deck you're working on?
Oh yeah, mono green spirits. Mono green. When you think spirits, you don't think Azorius.
I was actually I guess
You think mono green. That's the first color combo I think of when I think of Spirit Tribal.
it's just green.
And when I think of effects that I want to play that are powerful and appealing, I think of the original Kamigawa block with cards that you basically pay mana and then cry. Like, that's the effect of the cards.
Yeah. Awesome.
There's a 5-mana 2/1 in that deck.
Who do you think wins? Mono Green Spirits or Gimli?
I'm going to go with... If I tech out Mono Green Spirits fully, it's an even match. Honestly.
Who knows what's going to happen? Stay tuned for gameplay footage. You're at 2 dudes, 1 deck.
The battle of the 1 power decks. Yeah, we'll have to do an episode on that soon.
Yeah,
with Gimli.
That would be funny. Okay. So let's move past Gimli now. The poor mournful Avenger.
Horrible card.
Gimli the bad. And we're gonna talk about 2 cards at the same time. Pippin, Guard of the Citadel, and Merry, Esquire of Rohan. Pippin is white-blue, legendary halfling soldier, 2/2 with vigilance and ward 1. He has a tap ability. Another target creature you control gains protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. Merry is red-white, legendary halfling knight, with haste, 2/2. Merry, Esquire of Rohan has first strike as long as it's equipped. Whenever you attack with Merry and another legendary creature, draw a card. Corey, I have one question. Why aren't these partner?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, I kind of feel like they work pretty well together, don't you? And they have pretty complementary colors.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Pippin has vigilance, but also, like, a tap ability, so Pippin can attack with Merry to get the draw card effect, but can also save Merry.
Yeah, Alright, I have a conspiracy theory. In development, they had partner, and Wizards realized that they were too good. So they just took partner off, but, like, didn't change the cards.
So now, rather than a good partners, we've got two pretty mid commanders.
The two middest hobbits to ever leave the Shire.
These guys are the 2 dudes, 1 deck of the Fellowship.
They're entertaining. Like, if they were to host a podcast or something, they would be probably the best members of the Fellowship.
But they're just not great commanders.
Yeah, well, since they have to actually do stuff, like, they have to quest and, like, they end up having to do stuff instead of just, like, smoking weed and eating bread. Like, they're, like, the worst members of the Fellowship for doing something.
Yes.
But, like, hosting a podcast,
they'd probably be really good
they're
at
the
it.
2 best
Yeah.
members of the Fellowship.
No, that's true. Yeah, if they're compared to us, they would have to be the best.
They just didn't find their niche. They went to throw some stupid ring in a volcano.
See, that was where they fucked up.
Yeah, instead of podcasting about magic.
Yeah, give me a ring. I'm still just gonna podcast about magic. I'm not gonna go throw it in a volcano.
Oh
but
gosh.
neither of these guys they got a little decked in development, and yeah, they probably lost partner or something, and now they're just sad. they're just sad little cards.
I feel like their power matches, at least for the movie, the power of the cards matches the characters in the movie, whereas the Gimli card seems really worthless, and the Gimli in the movie was, like, way more useful. I don't know, like, the Lord of the Rings book lore other than, like, outside stuff that I've read.
Yeah, me neither. You probably know more than I do, honestly.
But just a little bit.
But
I have like quip knowledge of Lord of the Rings at best. But it's just these guys they didn't do a whole lot of like. I mean, they did enough, but it wasn't that hard. They got lucky. They got the easy job, but
they got the were they the comedic relief characters?
yeah, certain parts certainly.
Yeah.
Like they had important duties as well, but some of the movie, they were like, and they were stoned, like constantly. I think, like in the movie anyway.
Probably. All right. Well, I guess if you had to say which one would you say is better, Pippin or Merry, out of these two cards?
The Merry is
the Merry's clearly more aggro.
Better as a commander.
Yeah.
And the Pippin, I think I'd rather play in a deck. This seems not bad in a deck.
Yeah, he can be a good supportive card.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so Pippin would probably be better then because Merry would be a bad commander. Right? Merry would be a better commander, but still a bad commander.
Yeah.
So
they just came out with a precon this year with an insane red-white equipment commander, and they've been like supporting red-white equipment in a few of the most recent sets. So this Merry has a bunch to compete with. Yeah. And the Pippin is just like taps to get protection. You could play that in decks, I'm sure.
Yeah, you could just use them. Cool. Pippin wins. Okay, so let's move on to Flowering of the White Tree. This is a double white legendary enchantment. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1. And non-legendary creatures you control get +1/+1. So this is just, the best anthem they've ever printed?
Yeah, I mean, the cost and the effect are both better than something like Glorious Anthem. By a lot.
By a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what it looks like to me is that this is an anthem that's balanced for commander.
Mm-hmm.
And when you balance something for commander, sometimes it like sneaks into legacy decks and modern decks and like ruins the format. This has happened a few times with the past few commander sets. Like legacy has gotten really screwed up.
Good job, Wizards.
And I think this is gonna be another one of those where in tournament formats, if you play, it is legendary, but in tournament formats, like if you play one of these, and you were gonna play one other enchantment anthem, which isn't impossible, you would just play this instead, because the worst thing it can give your creatures is +1/+1 for 2 mana, which is better than Glorious Anthem. And then if your deck is focused on legendaries, it gives +2/+1 and ward 1. And modern has a few legendaries.
Yeah,
they're seeing play right now, like Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
Yeah,
she's just a 4/2 first strike ward 1.
First strike ward 1 that also kind of essentially gives herself ward 1 as well. Like
that increases the things trying to kill her already.
Yeah, exactly. So she becomes very hard to remove. 4 damage with first strike is no joke.
Yeah. This card with Athalia seems cool. It'd just be a question of getting him into play, but seems sick.
Yeah. So this looks like this. I mean, if you want to play anthems, you got your wish. You got the best anthem you could get right now. So slam dunk that into your deck and good luck.
And an anthem you can play in Commander that actually feels
relevant.
Yeah, not horrible.
Yeah, that's true. It's balanced for Commander, so you can play it in Commander.
Yeah, it looks to be balanced for Commander, in my opinion.
Yeah. So cool. Flowering of the White Tree, a very cool card. Okay, time for Borne Upon a Wind. This is a blue instant, 1 colorless, 1 blue. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash. Draw a card. This card seems pretty cool. What do you think?
Yeah, it's super strong, in my opinion. I mean, not super strong in the sense that, like Orcish Bowmasters is super strong, where you can just play it
It's not just
in
like
any deck.
Yeah, it's not just like a staple, but very strong in particular decks.
It has a niche. It's
Yes.
like pretty defined. In both casual and competitive, I would say it has a really defined niche. Because in casual, you can just use this and either like storm off on an opponent's turn or cast like a big sorcery on their turn and then start your turn with more advantage.
Yeah.
Extra turns, right?
Yeah.
But in CEDH, this actually has a niche with Necropotence. There's a deck that's floating around. There's a few commanders you can play. A Grixis commander or Zur the Enchanter is actually a really good commander for this. But you play Necropotence, and then you play Emergence Zone. And when you sack the Emergence Zone, your cards gain Flash, and then you pay basically all your life to Necropotence. On your end step, you put all the Necropotence cards in your hand, and before you have to discard them, you try and win with them.
Yeah. And this would slot right in there.
Yes, this would
Very
go
well.
in that deck, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not that many cards that do what these cards do really well. This is a really
This is a standout card for the effect that it's offering.
Yeah, this is one of the best ways to do that kind of thing in CEDH. Is a single use, mana efficient.
Yes.
Card efficient.
Just like I win
Flash.
this turn or I don't.
Yeah, Flash.
Yeah, actually, like I think this card is good, especially for the role that it's supposed to fill. But the draw card is just so like unnecessary. Like you may cast spells this turn as though they had flash at instant speed for 2 mana already seems like that's fine. You don't need any more text after that. That would still be played. But then they're like, oh, but also just draw a card just cause.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's blue. You gotta
draw
try
cards.
and max it out. Find the boundary.
Yeah, just really find the boundary and then just go slightly above it, and that's the new boundary. I think that's Blue's motto.
Push the envelope of how broken cards are supposed to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking of really good blue cards, why don't we pull out another one? Press the Enemy. This is another blue instant for 2 colorless and 2 blue. Return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. Yeah, so that feels really strong because not only can it counter uncounterable spells because you're just bouncing them, but anything like above 3 mana that you counter with this just feels so good.
Or bounce, right?
Yeah, or bounce. Yeah, anything that you bounce or counter that's above 3 mana just feels so good. Like, oh, they're casting their 5 mana commander with Delighted Halfling. Well, you could actually just counter it still, and then you could play like an extra turn spell for free.
I don't know. That sounds lame.
No, that sounds great.
That sounds stupid.
That sounds great.
No, that sounds stupid.
No.
How can you think that sounds?
It sounds awesome. Fuck you, Delighted Halfling. But yeah, I mean, like in the card is efficient at 3 too. Like if you're bouncing or countering something at 3 mana,
I think you break even at 3.
You break even because
we did a cost
unsummon.
breakdown.
Yeah, like a cost breakdown is like unsummon, like bounce effects and stuff like that are typically 1 mana. So, like that part of the card is, you know, you can essentially say the other part is 3 mana. So yeah, if you're able to play another 3 mana spell, you're going even on cost here.
Yeah, and that's why I think if you're playing in a mid-range meta where you're actually seeing 4 or more,
yes, this card feels amazing.
Yeah, it seems sweet. Like you can, if you think about the bounce as costing you nothing, and then the 4 mana that you're spending on this spell to cast something from your hand that costs 4. It feels a little bit like a free removal spell and counter
Yeah.
spell. Pretty
Yeah.
versatile.
Yeah, exactly. Free removal or counter.
And if you're in a really mid-rangey meta where you're saying stuff that costs 5, 6, upwards of that, this card starts to get like
Just gives you huge value.
huge upside. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be hilarious to just use this to cast like an ad nauseum or something.
Yeah.
That just I don't know.
Bounce someone else's.
Yeah,
And cast
bounce
your own.
someone else's ad nauseum to cast your own.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
I like this card in metas where you're playing expensive stuff and your opponent is playing expensive stuff, which is usually casual, but you know there are certainly some CDH metas where you're playing higher on the curve to
Yeah.
grind out in late game, like in a lot of stack scenarios.
Yeah, and also this is good in 1v1s, unless you know you're 1v1ing like a turbo ad naus deck, I guess.
Something that where you're never paying that much.
Yeah, where the only thing you would actually use this on is probably the ad nauseum.
Or like burnt, like just anything hate bears
yeah.
maybe where you're playing like just a bunch of cheap
Yeah,
stuff.
but other than that, like if you're in a 1v1 like mid-rangey meta or whatever, like I'm slamming this into my Kess deck to play against Gory.
yeah, I think it'll be good in our games, and it's like that's where it'll basically be perfect.
Yeah.
To play with.
Yeah. So kind of a situational card, but so good in the right situation.
Yeah, I would say most CDH metas, I would guess it's not that good, but there's certainly somewhere it would be good.
Yeah. So keep your eye out for Press the Enemy. So that last blue card was like a situationally good card. How about just an always good card? Stern Scolding. This is a 1 blue instant. Counter target creature spell with power or toughness 2 or less. Wow, that hits a lot of creatures in Commander right now.
Yeah.
Some very notable ones. Orcish Bowmasters just coming out. Delighted Halfling gets hit with it too. Dockside Thassa. I mean, these are high value, low power and toughness creatures that can literally win you the game, and you get to, for 1 mana, say, nah, you don't get to cast that.
Yeah. Dockside and Thoracle immediately come to mind when I see this card. And another card that I would love to counter is Draenith Magistrate. 1 power, I believe.
Yeah.
Stacks pieces like that. And
Grand Arbiter even.
Yeah. Grand Arbiter. And yeah, you can... I think 4 is about the max that you'll see because Urza has 1 power and he's 4 mana.
Pay
Urza
1
and Grand
to
Arbiter.
counter a 4 cost like huge commander like Urza. Like
Yeah, 1 mana to counter a 4 mana commander is crazy, and
so valuable.
the cards that don't cost 4 mana are also you want to counter. And that's another thing about Dockside, Thoracle, Urza, and Grand Arbiter is you don't want to remove any of those. You want to just counter them.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to let them hit the board because at that point it's too late. Like, who cares about what they do once they're like after they've already been there? They've already screwed you over.
Yeah, specifically Dockside and Thoracle specifically, removal doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, Thassa's Oracle is just once it hits, you're just screwed. So, this card is great. Being able to counter those just little dudes that say I win.
Yeah, I have a Corvold deck with 26 creatures, and I checked just now, and 23 of them get countered by this card.
Yeah, so you could just there's so many cards that this hits, and it's the cool thing is like. It's even more efficient than like Force of Willing or something like that, you know, because Force of Will you have to it's free, but you're paying 2 cards. This is 1 mana 1 card.
Yeah, what did we? It's like it's better card efficiency than Force of Will, and it's better mana efficiency
than like any of the other non-free counter spells.
Yeah, I would say it's a more powerful card at 1 mana than maybe, I don't know, certainly Dispel, possibly Flusterstorm. I don't really want to say Flusterstorm, but
Yeah.
it slots right in being like, well, okay, Mana Drain. It's more mana efficient than Mana Drain, and it's more card efficient than Force of Will. And Force of Will and Mana Drain are a good bar for you to be crossing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any blue deck running a lot of interaction is just going to slam this in there. Just especially competitive decks are just going to slam this in there.
Yeah, I think this will be better the more competitive, the more closer to CEDH it is, because the creatures tend to be really small.
Yeah, in casual you'll run into decks, just running like a bunch of big stuff where this is actually just useless.
Big and even mid-rangey. Like,
yeah.
As soon as it's anything but small, it's pretty worthless.
Yeah, exactly. Huge win for competitive commander. Stern Scolding looks awesome. Okay, and keeping up the blue theme, we're just going straight into the Watcher in the Water. This is 3 colorless, 2 blue for a legendary Kraken, 9/9. The Watcher in the Water enters the battlefield tapped with 9 stun counters on it. Whenever you draw a card during an opponent's turn, create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. Whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. This guy, he just seems really cool, and like the art is really awesome. Corey, I know you were really excited when you first saw this guy. What do you got to say about the Watcher in the Water?
Yeah, I saw him and I said that I want to build a commander deck out of him. There's a lot of parts of the card that read strong, particularly that he's a 9/9 for 5, but I don't think it's going to be CDH. I just think it looks like fun to try and draw cards on my opponent's turns, probably with instants, and try and get sacrifice outlets like Phyrexian Altar, Ashnod's Altar out of my deck to get rid of the tentacles.
Yeah.
And then I also think I'll want to play some Proliferate to proliferate my opponent's stun counters to
just
like
keep things locked down.
Layer stun counters onto their permanents.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty fun casual deck.
And then unlock my 9/9 after 9 stun counters come off.
Yeah.
And just have a 5-mana 9/9 and beat ass, bust ass.
Just start whooping ass with them. Start tentacle slamming. The Watcher in the Water. He looks like fun. He looks really cool. Give him a shot and send us some deck pics of him once you've got him.
Of your tentacle decks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so let's head on over to Gorbag of Minas Morgul. This is a legendary orc soldier for 1 colorless, 1 black. He's a 2/2, so he gets wrecked by Stern Scolding. Whenever a goblin or orc you control deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, choose one. Draw a card or create a treasure token. Super cool orc goblin value guy, Just creating giving you card draw, creating treasure tokens. Super awesome. He's an uncommon card, not hard to pull. Do you think he could be like a budget commander, almost like the Gandalf we talked about previously?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this card, to me, looks like a really good commander for if you're looking for a little lower power but still want value and you want to play with the orcs and the army specifically, because this commander lets you sacrifice the army, which as we talked about previously, it's nice to get rid of it because you keep getting material.
Yeah, definitely. But it's when it's at 1 power, it might be harder to hit people with it compared to when it's a larger army.
But you do want to get rid of them periodically.
But you do want to get rid of them if you can.
And this card's actually a perfect example of why you want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. He just gives you so much value for it. No, this guy, I think he's pretty cool, and this just gives me more of an idea of building like this would probably be like a casual thing, but just a Sauron orc goblin like tribal flavor deck, where you're playing the Dark Lord amassing this huge army of orcs, and you just really get into like the role play of of being the big bad evil guy of Lord of the Rings. Like, that seems like I don't know, just a really cool fun deck. You could even do what's that game mode where Arch Enemy?
Arch Enemy.
You
Yeah.
can make like an Arch Enemy style deck with him and have, other commander decks like Legolas and Frodo like work together to take on the big bad Sauron army deck. That'd be super cool.
With an Arch Enemy deck, yeah.
Yeah. That would be super cool and a ton of fun. So I would love to build a deck like that and do some gameplay videos or something.
That sounds like a good like low power game night.
Yeah, absolutely. It just sounds like a fun time, just hanging out with dudes and getting really into the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, not having Brandon's dog just like staxing us off the table. 10 games in a row. B,
come on, man.
B.
Yeah. No, I think that this is a very cool card. Can be a ton of fun with orcs and goblins. So pick yourself up one of these guys and have a fun game night. And now we're going to head on over to Isildur's Fateful Strike. This is a legendary instant. 2 colorless mana, 2 black mana. Destroy target creature. If its controller has more than 4 cards in hand, they exile cards from their hand equal to the difference. So, Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first legendary instant they've printed, right?
Yes, this is the first instant. I want to say in the original, the like 2015, 2016 Dominaria set, they had legendary sorceries.
Yeah.
But this is the first legendary instant, and overall, the whole idea is not very common. So,
yeah,
pretty rare effect.
That itself is kind of cool, even though it being a legendary instant only means that you have to, in order to cast it, you have to control a legendary creature or planeswalker, which actually just kind of feels kind of bad, like for something that sounds really cool, like a legendary instant, but you can only cast it if you have a legendary. It's not like it gets an added like good effect.
Yeah, the word legendary on instants and sorcery seems to only be a detriment.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. But what do you think of what the card does itself? Destroy target creature, and then you can exile cards from your opponent's hand equal to the difference if they have more than 4 cards.
Down to 4.
Yeah.
I think if you pay 4 mana and you kill a creature and exile like, I don't know, 3 or more cards from someone's hand, it feels sweet.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
poop.
It's gonna be poop. It's gonna be poop.
So super situational, probably pretty dependent on. Probably dependent on like the pod you're playing in. If you've got people like if everyone's drawing a bunch of cards type of thing. Yeah, if there's someone who's using wheels all the time and getting to like 7 cards very frequently, you could exile some of those cards away. That could be good, but yeah, a lot of times if people don't have very full hands, this is just 4 mana kill a creature, which
is sick. And you can only cast it if you have something already.
Exactly. And you have to have a legendary creature in play. Yeah, there's some conditions on this that don't feel very good. So, cool card and concept, but probably not gonna see a whole lot of play.
Yeah, just test it out if you are against people who have a bunch of cards in their hand. Otherwise, it's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. But if someone, ad nauseum's against you or something, like...
Yeah, I mean, if you can, exile 30 cards with this, that's awesome.
That's great.
4 mana for 30 exile out of their hand,
yeah. Yeah, that's a win. Other than that, yeah, pass this one up. Okay. So, let's talk about G.loin. Dwarf Emissary.
G.loin!
G.loin. 2 colorless, 1 red for a 3/3 legendary dwarf advisor. Whenever you cast a historic spell, create a treasure token. This ability only triggers once each turn. You can tap him to sack a treasure and goad target creature. Yeah, he looks like a pretty mid commander to me.
Yeah, he's an alright commander, and since he's a dwarf, he's a mid commander, but he might be like the top 3 best dwarf commanders ever.
Yeah, dwarves get the short end of the stick, man. Like G.loin, Gimli, they they were not done justice.
Yeah, I mean, being mid as a dwarf commander is like an honor.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess compared to other dwarves, G.loin's pretty happy with where he's at. But compared to the rest of Magic, dwarves just kind of suck.
Yeah, the first dwarves to come into the game were just horrible dogshit cards.
Yeah.
They're just bad cards.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Wizards kind of like ran with that. They're like, let's never make dwarves any good.
Let's just keep them always bad. But elves, oh, we love the elves.
Yeah, it kind of. I think it often depends on if people like the first runs of some of these creature types. And
yeah, dwarves probably weren't very popular when they came out, especially if at that time they sucked.
yeah. And they printed like one really, really good dwarf commander.
Yeah.
And it's because it's artifact combo. It's not like dwarf. It is dwarf tribal, but only to facilitate artifact combo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Magda.
Even then, are there better decks that just do artifact combo than that one? Like,
I mean, you could argue that there isn't. Like, that Magda deck, when you compare it to something like Urza, is like, depending on how you play the game and how your deck works, you could be probably a little faster and a little less resilient than Urza.
Wow.
It's like just it's Magda Brazen Outlaw. It's like super concise. Like, the deck wins with artifact combos and Magda tutors for artifacts. So it's just really easy to get all your pieces into play all at once. Explosivity.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
winning from literally like from nowhere.
Yeah.
Like having almost nothing in play. But obviously, since you're mono red instead of mono blue, you lack interaction.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely less resilient.
Yeah. So
But
hilariously,
cool how fast it can be. So the one good dwarf is really good, and then every other dwarf.
G.loin is the second best. And he's,
G.loin is the second best dwarf.
and he's like mid as fuck.
Hey, you know what? G.loin second place. That's pretty good, man. You gotta be happy with that one.
Yeah, he's close to being the GOAT. Like, and he's like pretty alright as a card. So we'll take it. We'll take our
Nice.
wins where we can get them.
Nice. All right, sick. Well, we were just talking about elves being good. Why don't we talk about an elven card? Elven Chorus. This is a 3 colorless, 1 forest enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library, and creatures you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. So you turn pretty much all your creatures into birds of paradise.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's that's pretty sweet. So Corey, what deck runs Elven Chorus?
I think a deck where this card is better than some of the things that do similar stuff is the decks in which you're playing like a lot of creatures. I would play this in a deck with like 36 or more creatures, maybe, because you want to make like the 4 mana for just making all your creatures tap for mana is not great, so you want to use the first 2 modes a ton.
Yeah, as much as you possibly can.
And if it's if you can set up like your top deck either with scrying or tutoring or something, Elven Chorus is even better.
Fits very well with blue.
Yeah. So it's in a blue-green deck. I can see this being good. And funnily enough, It's Elven Chorus, but it's probably better in non-elf decks because elves already tend to tap for mana.
Yeah, exactly. It's you can imagine it's elves coming in to support whatever deck doesn't already have them in it.
Yeah, yeah. But there's a card called Cryptolith Rite, which is a 2-mana enchantment, and it makes your creatures tap for any color.
Mm-hmm.
So, with this card, if you're willing to pay the extra mana, you have to be willing to use it.
Use the other modes.
Yeah, to like get the creatures out.
Yeah.
But all the effects on it are sweet, and it's a pretty stacked card in terms of text. So
Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be a home for it where it can perform pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah, this I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun just storming a bunch of creatures off the top of your deck, making them all be able to tap for each other and stuff. That sounds awesome. I think it's just hilarious that it's just better with non-green creatures.
It's better in blue.
So yeah, throw it in your Simic deck, maybe a bug deck.
Bug.
Black's got some good creatures too.
Put some cards on top of your deck with tutors.
Yup.
Nice.
Sick. Okay, enough of this good with blue nonsense. Let's move on to a true green man. Fangorn, Tree Shepherd. This is a big booty tree folk, legendary tree folk for 4 colorless and triple green. He's a 4/10 and has the ability Tree Folk you control have Vigilance. Whenever one or more Tree Folk you control attack, add twice that much green mana. You don't lose unspent green mana as steps and phases end. This is as green as he could be.
He's the king of Timmies. This Tree Folk Tribal rocks. Tree Folk Tribal, most supported, best tribe in Magic.
Yep, Tree Folk Tribal. It's taken over the game with Fangorn leading the charge.
Fangorn, Tree Shepherd, New Thassa's Oracle, question mark?
Question mark, exclamation point, period, semicolon.
All right, cut! No, but in all seriousness, it looks fun.
Yeah, no.
Fun.
He looks cool.
And rewarding you for playing Tree Folk. Important.
Great.
And banking your mana, like just storing up 160,000 mana.
To do nothing
The green
with
mana,
it.
yeah. To dirtle epic dirtle. Like that's just a fun deck archetype.
Yeah, no, Epic Dirtle sounds like a great archetype.
The mono green Omnath, people have played him as commander since the beginning of the game, and then when Krufix came out, I remember back in the day, a bunch of people, because I'm an old man commander player.
He's old as shit.
People play Krufix a lot. Back in my day.
What's funny is I'm an older player. I started before you. Yeah, well, you know what? I do have one more question for you though, Corey, about this guy. Lord Windgrace plus trees? Question mark?
Hell yeah, I do have a Lord Windgrace deck, and I call it Turbo Dirtle because I just make a bunch of mana and then I never do anything with it.
You might be able to do something with it now.
Yeah, if I just play a bunch of big, expensive tree folk, I might actually be able to kill people, which is nice. And not just sit there with my deck in my hand.
All right, cool. Well, Fangorn, awesome card. I don't think he's going to be competitive at all, but he could just be a fun commander or just a fun addition to a Timmy deck or whatever you're trying to do with this dude. He do got a big butt, so maybe even a little bit of Bill.
Yeah, the what if Fangorn Bill no lore partner deck?
Oh my god! The ship we all needed.
Fat ass tribal.
It's Butts Tribal.
Butts Tribal.
Oh my god. Well, actually, I've got some support for Butts Tribal with this next card. Last March of the Ents.
Oh.
This is a green sorcery for 6 colorless and 2 green. This spell can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Just storm it out. You draw a bunch of cards because you got a big ass in play, and then you just storm out more butts.
Butt storm.
It's the Butt Storm deck.
Uh,
Fangorn and Bill should be partnered.
yeah, even though there's like no justification for it, they should have just done it. Dude, this is like if a Spike plays ad nauseum, this is the Timmy ad nauseum. Like this is
yeah, exactly.
This is everything the Timmy player wants, especially if their creatures have the dump truck ass. Like
if they're playing a bunch of trees with a big ass.
Yeah, if you can get the ass to like 30 on a creature and draw 30 your deck, and
you get to put so many creatures out.
And then you're playing Magic like the South Park episode where you're just throwing creatures onto the battlefield and winning.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that what we all wanted to play Magic for in the first place?
To make it basically like the South Park. Yep,
yeah.
Pretty much. If I was playing every game like those characters did in South Park, like, it'd be unbeatable.
Unbeatable, absolutely.
Unbeatable.
Absolutely unbeatable. Oh my god. Okay. So let's get away from these butts and take a look at Elrond, Master of Healing. This is a Simic, so he's 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue, 4/4 legendary elf noble. Whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So if you have a +1/+1 counter on somebody and someone goes to remove it, you get to draw a card as compensation.
Yeah, I mean, I like that he protects your board. I like that he pumps your board, and he looks like a kind of a turbo dirtle.
Yeah,
like,
he's the scry guy. He's doing nothing.
And he says draw cards on it, which usually means it's good, but you're like relying on your opponents to target your stuff.
Yeah.
I guess you could play
there's
a deck.
Condition to it that makes it hard to accomplish.
You don't have much control over whether you draw any cards with him.
Yeah, you just kind of have to get lucky that somebody feels like they want to give you a card, or that, maybe if you have a threatening enough card that they really need to remove, you get it to draw. But
yeah, he's to me, Elrond doesn't seem like that much of a commander, like hard to build around.
Yeah.
The way that I would attempt it is to play cards that scry a lot.
Yeah.
And creatures that are so offensive that they demand being removed.
Yeah.
So that it forces my opponents to spend removal and for me to draw cards. And I'm playing Spellskite in that deck, because the way that Elrond interacts with Spellskite is hilarious.
That is actually pretty great.
Yeah. But I think I would pass on making an Elrond commander deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably would too. I think if I wanted to make a blue-green Dirtle deck, there's other commanders out there that can already accomplish that. Probably better than this guy. So, yeah, I'd probably take the pass on this one.
Yeah, I would have to be going for, like, blue-green inconsistent. Like, that would be the deck archetype. Inconsistently good.
Unexpected results deck.
Random results.
Random results. So, yeah.
Pass. Hard pass.
Hard pass. Will not smash. Definite pass. Okay. Let's actually head on over to
this card. That's name is very easy to pronounce. I definitely know how to say all of this.
Yeah. So Galadriel of LotR. That should be close enough, and if it's not, then I don't really know how letters work, because that seems about right to me.
Yeah, that's what we're going with.
We're running with that. Don't at me. So this is a 3-mana legendary creature, a legendary elf noble. 3/3. The 3 mana you need is 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. It has whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Galadriel of LotR as your ring bearer, scry 3. Whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If a land card is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. This feels like a Simic commander.
Yeah, if I'm building Simic Scry, which Galadriel kind of makes me want to do,
Yeah, this actually looks fun.
that card looks sweet because I mean, what it's asking you to do is very clear to me
Yes.
in order to get value on a repeated schedule. So like, I would play stuff to make the ring tempt me, maybe,
Yeah.
but I would absolutely play lands and cards
Lands
that
and scry.
benefit from landfall,
Yeah.
and then cards that scry. And you have an easy deck like big mana.
Yeah.
If you don't want to like just play Thrasios and win the game right away, you can play this and like spin your wheels and turbo dirtle. But it actually feels like you're getting somewhere.
Yeah. It feels like you're doing a lot more than just like sitting around waiting for your opponent to maybe like target one of your creatures or something. You have more like she creates the scry on her own, which is really nice. So she triggers herself really well.
Yeah, this is much less a like sit here and wait for my opponents to kill my stuff commander. This is more of a like
It's more
do
proactive.
stuff,
Yeah.
develop my board, put game pieces into play at a constant rate.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, no, she just looks like a ton of fun. This sounds like a great deck to make, and I would absolutely love to make one at some point. I've been looking to make a blue-green deck anyway, so
And
this might be the one.
since it's blue green, they did not include the once per turn or
Nope.
only as a sorcery text.
Nope.
Of course, you can do it as many times as you want on
Yep.
every turn.
Exactly.
In classic Wizards fashion, blue green.
Exactly.
How hard can we push it? Even a card that's kind of casual like this, they pushed it as far as they could.
Yep. So many landfall triggers and stuff. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be so dirtily and so fun.
I love this. Is like exactly as powerful as I want.
Yeah.
For casual, which is pretty. She looks like a 7 power out of 10, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think she's gonna be great.
Solid, for sure.
So, speaking of all this dirtling and such, I think it's pretty fitting to move over to Glamdring. This is a legendary artifact equipment that costs 2 mana to play, 3 mana to equip. Equipped creature has first strike and gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. More cheating in spells. This is just an updated, pretty good Runechanter Spike.
Yeah, it's like a super updated Runechanter Spike.
Yeah, this is everything Runechanter Spike wanted to be.
Yeah. Like, when did Runechanter's come, like, 11 years ago? This is like a decade's worth of power creep.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows. This is way better than, this is just, like, you can spin your wheels and take extra turns and extra combats so hard with this. This is like it's like a dirtle cannon.
It's the dirtle cannon. This is just Gandalf saying, "My name is Gandalf. Welcome to Jackass."
Gandalf
He's just
shooting
gonna
himself.
fly. He's gonna shoot himself out of a cannon with his sword pointed.
All right, if
Just charged by all the dumbass spells he's been casting while he's been hitting the pipe.
Yeah, if Disney ever buys Lord of the Rings, we need a book where Gandalf, in the first scene, he's just being shot out of a cannon, and the theme song plays. Yeah.
So yeah, no, this card's really cool. I think especially for casual decks that are gonna be like dirtling and want to do like the spin your wheels thing, this is a potential win con, as well as just being just offering a ton of value with like your free spells that you get to cast. Like, I don't know, this just looks like a lot of fun and a good addition to specifically like the Galadriel deck.
Yeah, I'm thinking strong casual from this.
Casual. Getting
And
strong casual vibes from this one.
And really good at making itself do more stuff.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on over to Sharkey, Tyrant of the Shire. This is a 2 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black legendary avatar rogue with a 2/4. Activated abilities of lands your opponents control can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. Sharkey, Tyrant of the Shire, has all activated abilities of lands your opponents control except mana abilities. Mana of any type can be spent to activate Sharkey's abilities. See, now this would be great, if Commander was one of those formats where, there's a bunch of like non-basic lands and lands with like a bunch of abilities and stuff that people are using really frequently. But, unfortunately Commander's just not like that.
Yeah, it's just all basics and like
Yeah, it's just all basics, right?
temples.
Yeah.
uh,
So say goodbye to your fetch lands, everybody.
yeah. So when I first read this spoiler, I was really excited because in a CEDH scenario, whether or not he's your commander, if you can play him early enough, your opponents can't fetch anymore.
Yeah, the sooner you get him out, the better.
Yeah, your opponents can't fetch, and like a lot of their lands, or a decent number of their lands, won't work.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe he has a spot in CDH, maybe not. But what I am really excited about is I think I'm gonna build a extremely like mean and trolly casual deck with him as the commander.
Oh my god.
Because blue is really good at exchanging lands.
Yeah.
So I would play a bunch of cards that like exchange lands, and I would play insanely crappy lands and like give them to my opponents, and then use Sharkey to use the good abilities on those lands, and my opponents get like the downsides of the lands. Like for instance, Sorrow's Path is a card that I would love to play in a Sharkey deck and exchange for one of their lands that actually does something, and then both use Sharkey for like the Sorrow's Path, the positive part of Sorrow's Path, and then also tap their Sorrow's Path and make them use their Sorrow's Path.
Yes.
But like
and just make them board wipe themselves.
Yeah, and Sharkey just I want to make a super trolly, super mean, not very good deck, cuz that's
the kind of content you can expect from us here at 2 Dudes 1 Deck.
Yeah, that's my favorite shit, is like mean and bad.
Mean and bad. Your idea for this reminds me a lot of like the Beamtown Bullies.
Yeah.
Just giving people bad stuff.
The Meme Town Bullies.
Oh my god. Yeah, so Sharkey looks like he could be really fun. I mean, even if you're not using him for what Corey wants to, turning on people's fetch lands can be like a really big deal. Especially if you can get him out early. So he definitely has some power to him. And he might be worth, taking a look at.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see what kind of abilities people are stealing, because that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's good stuff available, then he will actually be pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Time will only tell. Okay, and we're just gonna go ahead and finish off with this last card here today. This is Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. Once again, I hope I'm saying all that right.
Yeah, I believe it's Schlob.
Schlob.
On my knob. Schlob on my knob.
Yes, the spider, Schlob on my knob. We all remember this from the movies and the books and everything. No, this is a 6 mana, so it's a 4 colorless, 1 black, 1 green, legendary spider demon, 8/8, death touch, ward 2. Other spiders you control have death touch and ward 2. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you controlled dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a food artifact with, tap 2, the usual food text. And it loses all other card types. So, this is just a big, scary spider that spiders rival.
Spider tribal, yeah. And, I mean, this is like the best spider that I've ever seen from Magic, from Wizards.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty cool spider.
Yeah,
It's nice that it doesn't just get auto-slapped reach onto it.
Yeah.
Like every other friggin' spider they make, but...
Yeah, Shelob lived in a cave, so maybe reaches.
Yeah, she a cave spider.
Yeah.
She's reaching underground.
Yeah, so... I mean, she makes it so that when your spiders kill stuff, you get value, and then
Yes.
she also gives your spiders death touch, so...
Yeah, so spiders with bows.
Spiders with bows. Yeah, there's a bunch of equipment in the game that allows you to like ping, do a little bit of damage to other creatures.
Yeah.
And I think that giving spiders a bunch of bows is the way to go with this deck. And
just shoot down everyone's board and get yourself a ton of food, and then go nuts with all your food.
yeah, use the effects of like the food or the
Yeah.
creatures, but on the food.
Yeah.
A lot of wild like variance and power.
Yeah, because it
and-
is a copy of that creature. So that can have some implications in how like what you can do with those foods.
Yeah, and there's also ways to turn artifacts back into creatures, and their power and toughness is equal to the mana cost. And since the tokens are copies of creatures, they'll copy the mana cost, so they won't die if you do that. So you can even turn them back into creatures in a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, which would be a lot of fun.
And then kill it again
Yeah.
with a spider and make it into a food. I mean, I'm sure people will be getting up to some ridiculous, nasty shit.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of shenanigans with Shelob on my knob.
Yeah, awesome. This one is cool.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. I feel like it fits the Golgari flavor too really well. The spiders it's super creepy, super cool. Definitely gonna be a monster to deal with.
Nice stat block too. 8/8 for 6.
Oh yeah, 8/8 for 6. This is a big butt and a big face.
Yeah. Well, it's a spider, so I guess that makes sense.
All right. Okay. Well, deckheads, that's it for our spoiler trilogy. If we didn't cover a card you were looking for, leave a comment, and we might put it in our bonus episode where we cover more cards that didn't quite make the cut. Subscribe to Two Dudes, One Deck wherever you're listening to this to make sure you don't miss the bonus episode, coming soon to an internet near you.
And we still haven't received any really nice deck picks yet on our social media. So, you guys,
Yeah, you've been slacking on the deck picks, guys.
I'm pretty sure it's allowed on Twitter. And, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube is where you can get with us also. And, yeah, man, I'm really disappointed that you guys aren't sending me pictures of your decks.
So, yeah, follow us on our socials and send them deck pics.
All right, thanks, you dickheads.
You can't call them dickheads.